Hello everybody, BeMetalways here. I have a different entry for you today. I want to talk about my Iron Maiden Dream Setlist. Yes, I was watching the channel Sea of Tranquility that I highly recommend. It's a very cool channel with a lot of guests and interesting discussions and shows. Anyways, they were talking about Iron Maiden Dream Setlists. And since Iron Maiden is my favorite heavy metal band of all time, over the years I have created many Iron Maiden set lists in my head, and that show inspired me to create this entry. So I will do one set list now, and I might create some other ones in other entries. But for today, my dream set list. It's a set list with no restrictions, so any album can be in it from the first to the Book of Souls. But I'm doing something that they will never do. It's a two-act concert with an encore at the end. So overall, it's a 3-hour show, something like Rush would do, but Iron Maiden would never do it. So let's get to it. Act 1 would start just like the En Vivo album with the PA of the Satellite 15 song, which I think it's a cool way to get people warmed up. And then the band comes in with the Final Frontier, which is a song that I love from an album that is totally underrated. And then right after that, they would go directly into the very fast, very fun, amazing song "Sea of Madness," played live in the tour of Somewhere in Time, but never again, and would be a very cool song to be the second one. And then they would go to Flash of the Blade, which they never played live, and was my very first song from Iron Maiden that I liked from my first album that I bought, Power Slave. And then they would cool things down with Back to the Final Frontier with the first part of the Talisman, which is this acoustic guitar, the build up with the Bruce singing, and then explodes in that very difficult singing part when it gets to all band. I think it's an amazing, epic song, and I love it. Then we would relax a bit with a mid-tempo song that I love as well from the Somewhere in Time album, "Stranger in a Strange Land." Unfortunately, they never played that live again after the Somewhere in Time tour, as far as I know, or at least not in a massive tour. And I always loved that song. It was one of my first songs that I love from Iron Maiden. Then they would all go all the way to the X Factor, to Lord of the Flies. I know this is a song from the Blaze Bailey area, but if you listen to the version with Bruce Dickinson in Death on the Road, I just love that version live, and I would love to see this again. Then imagine lights would go down, and you would just hear the voice of the narration of King Philip of Macedon, and they would play Alexander the Great for the first time live. That would be amazing, amazing. And then they would go back to Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, Infinite Dreams, my favorite Iron Maiden song of all times. One of the most difficult to play and to sing. Maybe that's why they never played it again after the Seventh Son tour. And they would go there. At the time I had the EP that had Infinite Dreams on the side A, and then Killers and Still Life on side B. I loved that, and this was before they released the Maiden in England with a full concert. Those 3 songs from that concert were that EP, and I would love to see they play in the same sequence. So after Infinite Dreams, Killers, which is an amazing song, and then of course Still Life, which is just great song. And then Act 1 would close with the double song on Charlotte. So Charlotte the Harlot and 22 Acacia Avenue to close the concert, the Act 1. That would be so fun. I mean, that would have been enough, right? I could go home if I had if I had that Act 1. But no, this is my dream. It's my set list, so I can do whatever I want. So they come back for Act 2, and they open like they did in the 82 tour, the first one with Bruce, with Murders in a Rue Morgue to kick things off, and then directly into Wrathchild, which is an amazing song. Then Prowler, so very old school here, and then still in the Number of the Beast album, Children of the Damned, and then they would go to the Piece of My album with Flight of Icarus. I always loved that song. That video clip is so amazing, and the guitar solos, the Bruce voice in that song is just really great. And then they would cool things down with Remember Tomorrow. That there are some live versions with Bruce, and it's just amazing. After cooling down with Remember Tomorrow, they would go crazy with Where Eagles Dare in the middle of the set. And then they would follow also with a song that has some build up, some ups and downs. No Prayer for the Dying, the title song, the title track of that album that I think it's really underrated, has some good moments, and I do love this title track. Then they would go back to Seventh Son with the Clairvoyant, one of the first songs that I ever learned on to play on the guitar, and I love this song as well. I love all the songs in this in my dream set list, obviously. And then they would go to another epic with the build up, Afraid to Shoot Strangers, representing the Fear of the Dark album here. I think that's a cool song with a nice build up, and those guitar licks and everything. It's really fun to see it. And then they would go all the way to the Book of Souls with probably my favorite song on that album, The Great Unknown. And then they would visit A Matter of Life and Death with Brighter Than a Thousand Suns, another epic, cool song. And then, then they would close with nothing less than the closer song of the Peace of Mind album, To Tame a Land. That would be so fantastic. They would still come back to three songs. The first one, Brave New World. I want to have one song from that album. I think it was a cool album. The return of Bruce and Adrian Smith to the band. I think the title track, Open the Rock and Reel DVD, is pretty cool and would fit well to open the Encore. And then the dream continues to go anywhere because they would play Lost for Words, so the instrumental song from Power Slave, and they would close with a cover song, Cross-Eyed Mary from Jethro Tull, which is absolutely a dream impossible set list. And first of all, Bruce Dickinson cannot sing the set list in one night. And Cross-Eyed Mary, it's ridiculously difficult to sing in the way they recorded this cover back in 83, I think. So that's it. That's my dream list. Yes, the big songs are not there. There's no Hallowed Be the Name, The Number of the Beast, The Trooper, 2 Minutes to Midnight, because I've seen those songs so many times live. I don't need to see them in my dream set list. So my dream set list is a combination of the songs that I love and songs that they rarely or never played live. And it's my dream. I do whatever I want. But I would be curious to see what you guys think, what set lists you would create for yourselves, and BeMetalways.